It's sad how fast time goes.
The older you get, the faster it goes. So
It is weird. You know what's funny is I remember hearing that when I was not a kid, but maybe a teenager. You know, like when you're a kid, like, and then as a teenager, and then as an adult, I don't remember how it was. Like days, and then weeks, and then before you know it, like it's like years. Like years just skip.
my birthdays come faster every year. I swear.
When is your birthday?
When?
Yeah.
Oh, I just had one. I don't want another one for a while.
When is your birthday?
February
Yeah. So what day?
16th.
Yours is February 16th. Mine's February 22nd.
I think I knew that.
Yeah. I didn't know yours.
It's crazy though, because when you are a kid, you feel like, oh God, I don't have enough time to do anything, so I'm just gonna do it all now, And what you don't realize is that you have plenty of time. I remember thinking when I was a kid that there's so much I want to do. I don't want to go to college, I don't want to do X, Y, Z to better myself for the future. It was more of a living in the exact moment that I was in.
Yeah.
And I caught myself, even years after having those thoughts, that I still live for today. And I was, Joe Rogan said something on a podcast. I was listening to it on the way over, is that they were talking about how cool smoking looks, and, some of the older movies from the 20s, 30s, and 40s, anybody that had a cigarette in their mouth, they were like, man, I can see that.
Even like 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yeah,
like,
I guess.
It's funny because I watched Dazed and Confused like a year ago. Mm-hmm. I've been trying to watch like some of the movies from my childhood that I haven't seen in a long time.
Right.
And it was funny to see kids like walking down the school smoking cigarettes, and like getting their lockers. And I was like, man, that is crazy.
Yeah. Funny story though. When I was in high school, we could smoke. Like between classes, we went out to this giant outside area, kind of a courtyard, I guess, but it was shitty.
And how old were you?
16.
Wow.
Yeah.
But they're rated 18 at that time or not yet? When did cigarettes become rated 18 or whatever? You know what I'm saying?
Oh shit! I just remember being $1.25 a pack, and that was with taxes. But anyway, so it was funny. You could hate all the teachers that you wanted, but for that 10 minutes in between classes, a teacher would come out and smoke with you, and sometimes they would bum a cigarette from you, or vice versa. For that 10 minutes. They weren't teachers, you weren't students. It was just like you were buddies out there enjoying a cigarette,
Yeah.
And we could also leave campus back then to go out to lunch.
We got to do that.
The next year, you couldn't smoke on campus, and you could not leave campus for lunch. I guess there was so much drugs. Other people that didn't go to that school would come in.
What year do you think this is? Like what?
What year? What? When I went to high school? You really want to talk about that?
When you were 16, 17.
It was 86.
86.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just funny because you're telling me that story, right? And I want to say that I went to school in 96, 97, 98. Actually, no, I started in 98, I think is when, 97, 98 is when I went to high school. And they had open campus. And it was like, it's kind of similar to what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Like, I do remember kids smoking cigarettes, and I do remember open campus. Mm-hmm. So it's funny that like 10 years difference. And they canceled your campus, and they canceled all the stuff like you said. And then kind of the same thing I went into. Like I remember like the first year, the second year was really cool. Everyone would just like go wherever they want, and they'd go to different restaurants, and we'd meet, different kids at Taco Bell, or we'd meet different kids at Arby's. And then like somewhere in that process, I think something happened to one of the kids, and they ended up shutting all that down.
Our thing that happened was we had... in case you don't know this, it's not really important, but it's a fun fact. I grew up in Muskogee, Oklahoma.
Where the heck is that?
It's like a little bit south.
Is Oklahoma like that weird state with like the long line on the end?
It's called the Panhandle. Many states have them. Educate yourself.
I saw a
yourself.
picture today that said, "What even goes on over here?"
A whole lot of nothing.
So it's funny that you said that.
Trust me. There's not much out there. Not much at all. We had guys from local gangs that would bring drugs in, or they would come in and start fights, or anything that damaged cars. So I guess that right after, the next year they just said, okay, no more. It's just causing too much trouble, I guess. Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Champaign.
Oh, really? Champaign, Illinois.
So I
Huh?
went, yeah. So I was born in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, but at like 3, 4 years old, we moved to Champaign. So
Why?
so my dad got a job offer working for the Chevrolet dealership there in Champaign, Illinois. And it was a great job offer. And it was cool because there was like a period in time there that you'll never be able to duplicate ever again. Where like he went from having, like, I remember him showing me like the first house that they lived in, like my mom and dad, and like it being a really tiny house, probably being like similar to this. And just to at least see the jump in wealth. I don't think you understand it as a kid. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
for sure.
Like when things change or shift in your life, just as a kid, you're going with the flow, kind of like you said in the beginning. Like you're just existing in the moment. You're not really realizing what's going on around you.
Right.
And to see just the difference that my dad's life made, or even my dad, my mom, like everyone's life, just the direction that even looking at the team right now, like seeing the beginning of like when we were just training in our garage or training in our living room to like now having the facilities like Terre Haute, Effingham, the nice mats that like 10 years ago I would have never imagined any of that or that it went this direction. And even the same, like I remember living in that, I don't remember living in the house, but I remember seeing pictures of the house. And then we went to a little bit nicer house. And then we went to a super fancy house, and then a insanely fancy house.
Right.
And it's just like, you don't really understand why those things happen or how you make those things happen. And no one teaches you. I think that's the sad part is I think parents struggle to truly guide their children. I think that we get so caught up in kind of what you said. I think that's the big problem with having kids at a young age is that you're doing like what you were saying before. You're just trying to like go in circles.
I think so. I think also that when you do have kids at a young age, I didn't have my own first child, who was Jude, by the way. You see how that fucked up. Just kidding, son. I'm glad that I waited to have. Well, it really wasn't that I waited. My previous wife before that, she could not conceive, but that's neither here nor there. But I found, because remembering back to how I was in my early 20s when I got married the first time, I was a child myself. I had no clue how the world worked. I had no clue how I was supposed to act. I had no idea what responsibility that I had to have just to maintain a life. I did it because that was the expectation.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, I got to work 3 days this week, and I'm definitely calling off for one of them. Whether it's because I kind of, what we talked about. I lived for that moment. Used to do a lot of bike riding.
When did you quit smoking cigarettes?
When? Kind of sounds like I did just this morning, doesn't it?
No, I'm just like saying.
I think and I'll be honest, I did not smoke cigarettes for very long. Probably I started because it looked cool. Imagine that. And I was probably 17. And that's when I started drinking a lot too. And then I started smoking marijuana and some other stuff here and there. But anyway, so I was probably, when I got married the first time, my first wife said she won't have it. And that was that.
That's what made you quit?
I think so. Now, off and on, maybe having a cigarette when you're having a drink or two, maybe. I haven't even done that in a long time. Vaping off and on. It never was something I was really determined to continue,
It blew my mind when Brandon told me he smoked cigarettes.
Brandon.
Wells.
Are you kidding me?
I never even knew that.
Does he still?
No, and so like, and he never like, he didn't do it like as a hardcore.
Yeah.
But he works at a bar. He does bartending on the weekends.
Yeah, for sure.
And he said that he got in this habit where he liked to have a cigarette on his car ride over. Like it was just something about like his family did it, and so he would just do like a car smoke on the way over there. I've never smoked cigarettes in my life,
God,
so
never had.
I don't understand it fully.
Mm-hmm. It is the most addictive substance.
It's weird, like I don't really.
Absolutely. For that 10, 20, 30-minute period of relaxation that it gives you. You think about the long-term effects.
It just relaxes your nerves or what?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
It just fills those needs of those nicotinic receptors. I don't know how to explain it fully. I won't waste our time talking about something stupid like that. But yeah, it's more addictive than heroin, like 10 times more addictive.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You
People
know?
have an easier time of quitting heroin than they do cigarettes. This is why I think that's true. Because you think about it, like my dad went to AA for years. I tell you what, all those guys in there, you quit a substance that fucks you up and takes away everything that you even want to think about, and then you quit that, but man, you got to have something legal to calm those nerves.
Yeah.
So it was cigarettes. Think of about a heroin addict. They quit that stuff, but man, they got to have something to do with their hands or something to, and yeah, cigarettes was just kind of a way to go for them, I think. And, you know, I've worked in substance abuse. In fact, I still do quite a bit. And they all bitch about the same thing. Why can't you guys let us go outside and smoke? And I'm, well, we have some nicotine gum or a patch. And I'm like, fuck you. They want their cigarettes or they want their vape or, you know, anything like that. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's weird the habits
really
that we get
is.
imprinted on us and
I
that we
know.
continue and we can't get rid of.
No, it's
I know
tough.
in my life for sure, like there's
Oh,
things
yeah.
that I can't just get rid of. Like I
Yeah.
can't shift certain ways. It's like I like sleep.
It's kind of a necessity.
How do people get up at 4 a.m., you know, and then do a 2-hour routine of working out and getting up and doing all that stuff and then starting their day at 8 o'clock or whatever, and then you know, and I don't know, maybe my life's different. Maybe I should stop trying to compare myself. I think my struggle is like I try to compare myself with what you're supposed, kind of like what you just said, right? Like the expectations or what
Right.
you think you're supposed to do or be, and then, you know, and I get kind of in a agree or disagreements or whatever. I don't know if it's their arguments, but Mandy and I talk about, because she wants a certain sleeping pattern and I want a certain sleeping pattern, and like what's right, you know, like what's the right direction, or and I
Right.
think it's so frustrating because in life we watch reels or we hear our parents or we hear people that we look up to or, you know, friends or whatever it is, and then like we imprint ourselves on what they think or what they're saying, and then we like create in our mind like this is the right.
I know.
And then it's like, why though? Like,
Yeah.
you know, like it's
like you hear about a guy, you know, oh, I get up at 5 o'clock every morning and I go to the gym and get all that done. Then I come home and I check my stocks and you know, that's all before 7 o'clock. I hit the shower, have a healthy breakfast, and then I go to work and
this is why I'm successful.
I guess.
And then people try to copy that, and
I
it's
guess.
like,
But everybody has their own definition of success. My definition of success for myself is, number one, getting enough sleep, being prepared for work by doing that. I mean, if I get up at 4:30 to go to work, which usually means I got to be in bed by 10 o'clock or I'm going to feel like shit. Now, on my days off, I tend to stay up a little later, sleep a little later.
what time do you get home from the gym? You live a few minutes from the gym.
Oh, like maybe 7 minutes away. It's
So then
awesome.
when you get home from the gym, what's your routine to get to bed?
Usually, Richie and I will make dinner. If Aaliyah's not at work, we'll all three sit down and just have a quick dinner of some sort. I'll hit the shower, and
We're gonna have to kill that cat.
I'm down. String it up. He's wanting in this bitch.
It's just because you pet him.
That's my fault. Oh, blame it on me.
You showed him attention.
Yeah, I know.
He needs love.
And I read for a little bit, or you know, something like that.
Should I go kill him?
I think you should.
All right.
That's annoying. One cat death coming right up.
Get out. Stop.
I'll
Go.
be back quickly. It happens every time I come over here and pet that cat.
Well, that's because you give him attention.
Well, he's a good cat. Anyway,
He's a good cat.
So anyway, you know, and then I read, and somewhere between 10 and 10:30. Usually I'm in the bed at 10. So maybe somewhere between 10 and 10:30, I'm lights out. And I usually feel pretty good. But then there's those other days, you know, I get home from the gym and I'm just either so wound up or so frustrated or just hurting, that, sleep takes a little bit longer. Let's do some ibuprofen, or, use the trigger point gun, but that's kind of my routine. And if I don't have to work, come home, it's a little bit more relaxed.
I think my hard thing is like normal people, or normal, I don't know if they're normal people, but most people have a certain routine that they can fall into. Like they normally know their schedule, they know their routines, and it's kind of easy for them to create patterns and habits. And like with my life, I can't ever create a habit. It's like constantly changing. Everything's changing in my life. Like I have these homeschooling classes now, or we have the podcast, or we have this video editing, or I'm trying to learn this new system, or like there's no real like every day this is the routine. And maybe it's my fault. Maybe somehow I should create like a 6 or 7 hour workflow, right? But for me, it's like it's constantly changing. I'm going to video editing courses to try to be a better video editing and understand the software more. I'm trying to get the new system in for the gyms. So, like once I get the new system in for the gyms, then it's not necessarily I'm not going to have to focus on that anymore. So it's almost hard to figure out what days. Like Monday, Wednesdays are my homeschooling days. I got to drive to Decatur in the morning, and then I'm at Decatur almost all day until I get to Effingham. And I get like little windows in there, but I can't actually like sit down and have a set schedule. And maybe that's just me being an idiot and not creating more structure in my life. I don't know. I mean, it's tough because like in one ends I want the sleep. Like I haven't been sleeping at all hardly.
Well, you've heard this saying that humans are habitual creatures.
Yeah.
Whether or not you think so or not, we all create habits within ourselves and in our daily lives that a lot of times we don't recognize. Like I just explained to you, nights before work, I'm in bed. Nights that I'm not, a little bit more relaxed. So my routine or my habit, staying up a little bit later, having more fun, getting to bed, a little bit later than normal. And that in itself, be it chaotic or be it organized or concrete, or you know what I'm saying, it's a habit either way.
Yeah.
I can't imagine though the habit that you have to create in yourself to do like the thing that you do, because you don't have an employer
Right.
that says you have to be here at work
Right.
at 7 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You have to create those positive habits in order to be successful.
Yeah.
Where I have a boss that expects me to be there at a certain time. Now, I'm not saying he has to tell me every day, be sure you come to work tomorrow.
I think
Although
and you have an order of tasks to accomplish.
Yeah.
And like that, I think that's what I miss sometimes about like even the beginning of PSF, is like there was some type of like guidance or direction, And I don't need a bunch of that because I have a lot of stuff, but at least I had something to work towards. Now, like I don't, it's like, hey, we're going to focus on this tournament, we're going to focus on that tournament, we're going to try to build this, or come around, let's do this, this, and this, and then it's like, okay, I'm going to work towards that, and that's great. Now it's like I have to try to figure out for myself what to create, what's right, what's wrong. And for a long time, I just wasted a lot of time.
I still do that.
I'm trying to find out, like, okay, don't play video games for 6 hours a day. You could play a couple games with your daughter. You can, do a couple little things like this and that. But for the most part, like, find purpose, accomplish things, grow yourself, expand yourself. So it's like, okay, do this little course on video editing. Spend a few 20, 30 minutes doing that a day. Spend 20, 30 minutes a day actually working on creating the content. To spend 20, 30 minutes a day learning how the new system works. Spend 20, 30 minutes a day making sure you're marketing the gyms and exposing yourself so people want to join the gym and understand what you are. Because I think the biggest thing that I was talking with my dad the other day, because he said, do you think marketing in the newspaper or marketing on radio works? And I was like, no, I don't think any of that works today. I think that is like a little bit of a reminder to say, hey, this exists.
It's antiquated.
But nobody sees it and then goes and says, okay, I'm going to look up this, and this. I think the biggest success in today's world is like creating a digital footprint for yourself or your business, you know, where people know you or understand you or feel like they have connected with you before you ever even step on that business.
Right.
You know, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. I think a lot of businesses and I think people understand, but businesses are still living 10, 20 years ago, you know, especially the car industry.
Sure.
Like the
But
car
that's
industry
changing
does
even too,
all
but
the
how
same
people do that.
things. All these old school car guys don't know why their business is failing, but it's because they're creating the same thing that they did 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now people, like, if you want to buy a car, like what was your car buying experience?
When
Just this last
recently,
time? Yeah.
the last 2 cars I've purchased, I bought sight unseen.
Okay.
Especially the last one, I had an idea of what it looked like. I'm like, yeah, that's
From a
cool.
dealer?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the car was in Indianapolis, so they had to go get it. But I'd already signed the paperwork. All I had to do was take the keys and go. The car before that, I mean, I had pictures of the actual car. So yeah, I mean, I hate going to dealerships. I hate dealing with them.
Why?
I think it's because of all the time you have to spend. I remember sitting in a car dealership years ago in Missouri with my kid's mom. We sat in a dealership for 8 fucking hours waiting for them to do God knows what. It wasn't our credit. Our credit was like amazing. Not like it is today, but because it's not too good. But and I think, and that's kind of replicated itself off and on, before that and after that even. And you always feel like they make this offer, they bring you a page, okay, this will be your payments, or
Yeah.
do you like this better?
Right.
And I'm just like, you know what, man, go stick that straight up your ass.
I feel like, again, that's the same thing as like the marketing and advertising part of it. Like you're doing the same thing. You're trying to strong arm people, and the
guess.
world has shifted so much that people don't want that environment. And then
Right.
it's the same thing with school, you know? Like schools are still operating in 20, 30, 50 years ago mentalities, and they
Yeah.
don't want to actually change and realize
Yeah, I
that there's
know.
a better way
I know.
to support humans. But the sucky part too is people are sending their kids to school for the schools to be parents instead of teachers. You know, like so many times parents don't want to step up and actually parent their children, and they just want the school to do it because they're in survival mode. They got a million things on their plate
Yeah.
that last thing that they can do is actually parent their child. So it's tough. I mean, it's how do you figure it all out?
I don't know. But
And
I have some ideas.
Okay,
You want to talk about those?
sure.
Like what we were talking about earlier, sort of the meat and potatoes of what I think that we should talk about today is the day in and day out struggle of dealing with stressors, dealing with those problems that pop up in our life. And one of the things that I've noticed a lot lately, especially spending time with you and the talks that we've had, is like, hey, how things going, today or this week? And sometimes you're like, oh, it's going pretty great, made some money, did some good classes, or got this new idea we're going to do, and just as soon as you say that, I'll talk to you in a couple days, and you're just like, man, it's all shit.
I know.
And I think I've got, here's the thing about me is I was so immature for so long, and part of me still is, but that's the fun part. I believe that it's taken me so many years to realize that when you have things that happen in your life that you don't like, that cause you stress, that slow you down, that stay on your mind constantly, man, it's not like people, oh, my life sucks, and they continue that because they have a couple good days, maybe a week. The younger you are, I think, the longer those periods are, because life's a little simpler when you're young. And the next week something bad will happen. They'll wreck their car. They're broke. Whatever it is. Oh, my life sucks. It's so bad. I got all these problems. And the truth of the matter is that guess what? You're learning how to do the rest of your fucking life because it does not stop.
Right.
Does not stop. The key is just to roll that, ride that roller coaster, figure out ways to not really manage the problems, because those problems are going to come regardless of how prepared you are. But what you can prepare is how you deal with it and put it in your mind. Excuse me. So that's kind of a direction that I've been thinking about lately, is talking to younger guys about stop thinking that your life sucks.
Right.
Stop. That's bullshit.
That's one thing I've worked on is parenting, because I think sometimes as parents I've noticed this, where we're like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, or this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. You do this, you're going to be this, 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 this. And it's like, then we wonder why the kid turns into that. Well, we said for the whole last 10 years that that's what's going to happen to them. So then we're shocked when it happens. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I was laying down with Lucy the other day, getting her ready for bed. And I just was like complimenting her. I was like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud. Like, it's cool. Like, we were playing Fortnite with Derek, and it's cute because she's 6 years old. She's 5, 6 years old playing Fortnite. And I was like, thank you for listening. Thank you for, when Derek asked you to stop, kind of yelling a little bit because she gets excited. Mm-hmm. She said, yes, like she said something polite, like, yes, sir, or I will, or, and then I was like, thank you for trying to really do your homework correctly, and just complimenting her on the success that she is having, because
right.
I think so many times it's like, oh, well, you're a failure, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, you're not, can't you get anything right? And then it's like, that's all they know is, no, I can't get anything right. And I noticed that because like she's trying to learn how to read now, and within like 2 pages she's like, I can't do this, and it's like, you've literally tried to read a book a few times in your life, and as soon as it got difficult, you quit.
Right.
And it's like, we can, as parents, we can fuel that. We can be like, yeah, blah, 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 and then you just never want to try anything. Or we can try to figure out how to like reinforce them so they feel safe and secure and want to. And I think that's like the hardest thing to do as a parent, that I'm realizing, is how to actually put more positive or actually support them more than just constantly ride them.
Well, don't be upset with me. Let's stay away from the parenting end.
Okay.
Because for most of the guys that I'm talking about,
they don't have parents anymore.
Right. They're not parents.
Right.
Or excuse me, they have parents, but they're not controlling their life.
Right.
Maybe a few
adults.
of them go to dad and say, Dad, I'm kind of in a stuck spot. What do you think I should do?
Right.
That's parenting.
But I also think we can skip the subject. I just want them to understand that until you can kind of go back and see why you are the way you are, why you're creating the habits, why you're giving up on yourself, why you're not, putting more work into this, or why you're having these. It's like Lucy the other day got mad. Right? Like, she gets mad and she gets frustrated. She throws these little tantrums, which all kids do.
I've got one that does it. He's almost a grown man.
And the reason why, it's like, I was telling some of my homeschooling parents this the other day, we don't allow kids to express their feelings. As soon as they start expressing their feelings or they start having outbursts, what do we do as parents?
I think we get frustrated a lot, too.
We get frustrated.
Right.
We tell them they're not allowed to do that.
Right.
You're not allowed to act that way. That's not correct behavior. Well, why not? Why is it that if you get angry at something, you're not allowed to process your feelings? You're not allowed to process your emotions. So what I've been trying to work with Lucy is, it's okay to be mad. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be pissed off. It's okay to be sad. How you process those feelings is what's going to make you better in life for when you become an adult, right? If I constantly suppress the feelings that you have, and I only allow you to have these fuzzy feelings of happiness, then when you become this adult, like you're talking about right now, a young man or a young woman or whatever.
You don't have a clue.
Huh?
You don't have a clue then.
then you've suppressed these feelings your whole life, and what happens? You go out into the world and you do all this dumb shit because you don't know anything about those feelings. You only know how these feelings work. And I think like we don't allow people to actually process their feelings today. We shut them down. And then they're young men.
I think that makes sense.
So I think the biggest thing that no matter what, even though we're moving from this conversation of parenting, is like you have to analyze why you think the way you think and why you're acting the way you act. You know, I mean,
Right.
I think that's
Right.
you can't avoid that. I mean, if you want to grow as a human being at a young age,
Sure.
you know, I did a lot of dumb shit because I guess I didn't do a lot of dumb shit, but like when I got out in the world on my own, I see Waylon, you know, my stepkid, because I was into his life a lot when he was younger. And there's a lot of times that I wonder his emotions. I've tried to send him text and I haven't got a reply from him. And he's going through that age now where he is 19 years old and he doesn't want to listen to hardly anyone. He's on his mission, on his journey. You know, I mean, you understand how 100% how this goes. It's like he doesn't mind to be like, hey, what's up? Hang out, let's have some dinner. But he doesn't want anyone's actual influence coming on him. He has, I'm going to work, I'm going to make money, I'm going to do myself, I'm going to do things for and he doesn't want to listen to any other outside influence. And I get it because I went through the same thing. Like as soon as I became an adult, I was like, I don't want to listen to my dad. I don't want to listen to my mom. I don't want to listen to anyone. I just want to do my own thing in the world and be in charge of myself because I'm so tired of being controlled by all these other humans. And you don't see it until you get older.
I think the reason we don't see it till we're older is this. The world is a much better teacher of lessons that need to be learned to young people than parents, family, friends, mentors of any kind. Maybe some of that stuff gets into them. Like I mentor a handful of guys that come to my class and I have a lot of time with them. It's not as busy, you know, like in one of your classes, you know, we're really super focused on what we're doing, but we do take time, just kind of bullshit. I was so rebellious and I got to a point where I'm not listening to anybody. Life taught me the hardest lessons. If you're not going to listen to people, you're not going to listen to mentors, people you trust, it's okay. Life will fuck you. And
So
then you will learn.
I kind of say that to Lucy sometimes. I'm like, listen, if you don't want to listen to me, eventually you're going to learn it the hard way. And it sucks because it's like, you don't want them, you know? Like, is Jude repeating the same things that you did when you were a child? You know, is he going through the same thing at 18, 19, 20 that you kind of went through emotionally
I
and
think
thinking in the
I think
same way?
he has
'Cause
a harder time than I did.
yeah.
But
I think times are harder too, though, in some
think so.
senses. You know, like there's a lot of craziness going
I
on in
think
the world
so.
today.
well, let's move on here. We keep going back to parenting, which is so important. I mean, I love this subject because I love my kids. I've loved being a dad most of the time. Other times, not so much.
For sure.
I wanted to kill myself or them. You know, I think a huge problem these days, you know, the younger generation, man, they've been saturated with the world. They're 13 years old. We hand them a cell phone, a tablet, and we say, here's the world.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Find it all. Buy some drugs. Look at some porn. Look at this fight that happened in school. I mean, I think it's so much. And when you start looking at all that, how everybody else in the world that are posting these TikToks, Instagrams, whatever, oh, that looks cool. Let's try that. Man, develop yourself.
Yeah.
It makes it very difficult not to compare yourself to everybody else. And that's hard.
100%.
That is so hard not to compare yourself. There, you know, where I work, I'm one of the relief supervisors, and there's a guy that is kind of the main supervisor. Man, he's amazing. He has a way with speaking. He's always got a smile on his face. He is so cool and relaxed. And you know, one of the things that I always struggled with since I've known him was, man, I can never be as good as Chris. You know, and one of my mentors at work said, "Why do you keep doing that to yourself? You have amazing attributes. You have things that Chris could never have." He goes into situations so much differently than I do. And I realize at 54 years old, I still compare myself to other people.
Yeah.
And that makes it that kind of makes things a little sticky, because I think you lose yourself.
Yeah.
I think in that.
100%.
And I lost my train of thought.
No, I mean, 100% what you're saying is...
It's all the drugs I did in the 60s. Woodstock,
Did you go to Woodstock?
Come on, dude.
Did you?
Oh, no. Woodstock was in the 60s, dumbass.
I don't know.
Why don't you read a book from time to time?
I thought you were born in 50.
I know, you're always telling me in class, no, he's 85, But I look good if
But
I'm
no,
85.
I mean, it is. I constantly compare myself to my mentors and try to accomplish what they've accomplished, and it's like you get so tired of it that you're exhausted. Where it's like, how do you just be yourself? And I tell a lot of people, like Austin, the 15-year-old kid that we have, he's incredible at jiu-jitsu.
He is.
He's tough. He's got a lot of talent. He's smart. He's a good kid, but he's gotten so caught up in wanting to be a world champion and so caught up in wanting to follow this Daisy
like
Fresh
Jude is.
people or the AOJ people and be this person that he's not actually showing up on the mats anymore and being present and enjoying it. And I've got caught up in that, and we've all got caught up in that.
Sure.
It's like we start following this other direction because we see these other people living their life, and we want to somehow create that exact same thing, and that's maybe not necessarily what we're supposed to create or do, but we can't see that.
Right.
We can't see that right now. We're supposed to be making this moment the most impressionable moment for ourselves or whoever's in front of us.
Well, it just has a lot to do with all that process of learning. Even though I think the biggest thing that we can do in the moment is learn, listen, and learn. That is what sets up success for the future. I think is that we take these lessons that we're learning today, and I learn something amazing every day. I'm not always able to pinpoint it, but I always feel like something's different today. Maybe it feels like shit. Maybe it feels pretty good. So, if we're talking about getting in these cosmic loops that you love to talk about, and who was the guy that said Derek? Yeah,
Garrett White.
Garrett, right? We need to get him on the show. That would be
Oh my gosh.
bitching.
Well, he would never be on our show.
Why?
I don't know. His success that he's built's pretty awesome.
What amazing that would be, though, just because the things that I've listened to with him are amazing. I mean, he's
starting a ministry group next week. So I joined it. It's a free Christian ministry group. And to me, I'm nervous and excited because I do feel like in the church world, people don't realize how critical or criticizing and judgmental they are in the church world.
You think?
Well,
that's why I haven't been to church in 15 years.
It's funny because, I'm sure a lot of people disagree with his approach to it because he curses and he calls you out on your shit. And, all the judgmental people that there's out there, they're like, oh, well, you're not following God if you say that or act like that. And it's like, but he has a great point. If you're going to church and you're like, oh, I know this scripture, I know that scripture, and you're going to go to hell and you're doing this wrong, then it's like, you're actually not living the right way. But for him, it's like, listen, we're going to get a group of men together and we're going to do this. We're going to study together and I'm going to call you out on your shit and you're not going to like it. You can go to church and you can hide and you can sit there, but here you're not going to hide. Here, I'm going to figure out what your fruit is.
Well, you do that to me all the time, and I think I do the same for you.
What? Call me on my shit?
Sometimes.
Yeah, so
I think.
Like he says, what your fruit is what your value is.
Yeah.
Where are you at in your family? Where are you at in yourself? Where are you at in your business? Where are you at with your children? All these things. And it's like, if you're not having success in those areas, don't act like you got some kind of thing that you're better than everyone else in. You need to be finding out all the little demons and not being afraid to hide from those demons. Oh, you're reading this scripture, quoting this scripture, but then you go home and you're not listening to your partner. You go home and you're yelling at your children. You go home and you're sitting on video games all night or sitting on the TV all night and neglecting these things in your life. Even if you're having success in your business, you're neglecting all these other areas in your life, and before you know it, they're all going to fall apart.
Well,
And
everything always falls apart.
so
Usually about once a week.
I'm
No matter
intrigued.
what
It's a
it is.
2-hour class every
man.
Tuesday.
Oh my God.
And it's where a group, guys are going to come together and they're going to, and the sucky part is you know your shit before you know your shit.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is like, in your mind, it's like, I should have got up and did this, or I should do this, or I should do that. And you kind of justify excuses and you make excuses and it sucks.
I believe that you and I, at our age and the level of maturity we do or don't have sometimes, I think I'm really good at accepting some of the things you said to me about, that you could. The thing about you is that we don't have discussions about when you call me out on something. It's just like a plate. There's your fucking dinner. Eat it.
When do I call you out on something?
Oh, you do it all the time.
Name one thing I called you out on.
Oh shit. I can't see. That's the other thing. I have a touch of dementia. I can't remember everything. But trust me, because there's been a
hard,
couple
for sure.
times I go home and I just kind of sit on the couch after training and just kind of think, is he right about that? No way. Because, okay, here's one of them. I was wanting to, when I started teaching, actually this was probably about a year ago, and I was, I want to be a better teacher. I don't feel confident all the time. And you were like, well, then quit sitting on your ass, go watch some videos about coaching. I mean, that's a simplicity thing.
Yeah.
But that's certainly not the most complicated thing you've ever said.
Yeah.
And it's okay. I like to get those things because I do want to be better. I do want to find different ways to deal with that ebb and flow of life where we're happy and we feel like we're doing well. We're communicating well with our coworkers or our families or our children, whoever it might be. And then we get stuck back again and everything kind of slows down. You don't have as much success. And when I say success, I don't mean, monetarily, financially, or whatever. I'm just talking about personal success.
You feel balance and peace.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Finding that balance, that's perfect right there. Finding that balance where you feel like, I'm making it. And then until the next, and that's the difference between younger men and us. They haven't learned those tools yet to understand. Here's what I say to myself. When I get in a shit location, financial, like for instance, I had a whole bunch of bills, my house payment, car payment, all this stuff hit all at once. And I'm like, oh crap. So for 3 or 4 days, I was in panic mode. And then I remembered something that I tell everybody else, the bitches at me, man, I'm going to do this. I don't know what to do. I'm never going to get clear. My life sucks. And I look at them and I say, no matter what, it will be okay. They're not going to take your family. They're not going to take your kids. They might take your car. They may take your house. You may have to change the way you live for a while. You will be okay. Human beings have this. And when I say this, if they allow it, if they accept it, we have an amazing ability to adjust our outlook. Right now, you and I own houses. If things just got crazy, I lost my job, couldn't find another one, your Jiu-Jitsu business and everything just hit the toilet, and you had to sell your house. You had to drive a cheaper car, whatever that might be. Go on food stamps. That's the extreme in most cases. However, it does happen. You would be surprised how easy it is over a little bit of time that you start. This ain't so bad. I didn't need to drive a $40,000 car or live in a nice house in this neighborhood. Renting this house, across town. It's a decent neighborhood. I got good people living next door to me.
But how fast?
It's not that bad.
I see what you're saying, and there's two versions of that, or two ways to look at that, or because on one end you do need to realize that like you're basically saying that don't feel sorry for yourself, don't get down in this pity party, like realize that you still have your health, or you still have yourself, or you
Right.
still have your family, or there's some good in this, you know? And then, but the other part that's kind of the rough part, or the toxic part, is like, you don't want to fall into an area where you just start existing,
Right.
right? And then you're like, okay, well, I lost my this, I lost that, can't get this, can't get that, so now I'm just going to exist. Because like, I feel like a lot of times that path leads to depression, that path leads to anxiety, that path leads to you finding some way to sedate yourself to survive that environment, instead of figuring out how to climb out of
I
that,
think it's more
basically.
anxiety than it's depression. You remember what
Probably.
Dustin Holmes said? Depression is about the past. Anxiety is about the present and future.
I did like that. That's good.
That was
That's
amazing.
That's a good one, yeah.
And he just whipped it out like he's known it his whole life. That's what,
He's one of my favorite humans.
absolutely. I totally agree with that. He always calls me back, or he always answers, always texts. I mean, he's a great guy. I just love Dustin. But anyway, let's not get off topic here.
I want to get us together more often, as all of us. That's why I think this new system will be nice, to try to like just, I think shrinking ourselves right now and just focusing on like the core people of who's in our life, and then trying to build more relationships with that is going to be the key to the future right now.
Like a pyramid scheme?
Yeah, kind of. But where we don't make any money.
Wait a minute. We're making money? The fuck, where's my check?
It'll be in the mail. Just wait.
in the mail.
I don't know your address, but it'll be there.
So I think, the whole cosmic loop thing.
Uh-huh.
And the way I was saying, I tell myself and I tell my kids, I know you're going through a lot right now, but let me tell you, number one, it will be okay. And the biggest thing you need to take away from this is life. It's not a bad life. It's not a good life. It's just the way it is. You have to figure out ways, whether it's letting life beat the shit out of you, or finding some good, strong people that have been doing it their whole lives and have a good understanding. And if you find somebody that says, "Oh, my life's great, everything's fine, I got plenty of money, man, they're bullshitting. Somewhere in their life,
Oh, for sure.
is garbage,
100%.
and all they know how to do is
I know
lie about it.
millionaires that hate their lives, and I know poor people that love their lives. I mean, I'm a poor person, so at the picture of it, like, I do enjoy life. Am I a little bit stressed out? But like, for the most part, it's nice. I don't have a boss. I do have to hold myself accountable to growth, which is tough sometimes. And I do have a lot of people in my ear that need guidance or need help, that sometimes is very overwhelming for me. But like, for the most part, like, I love the trips that Mandy and I go on. I love the different trips that we get to do with Lucy and the family. I love the different trips we get to do with my students. Like, these are things that I never got to ever do 10 years ago.
Sure.
So like, the content in my life now is way more fulfilling, I think, than it was. And it not even necessarily has financially wise changed, because if you would have looked at me 10 to 15 years ago, you would have thought I was more wealthy and more successful than I am today. Huh?
Because you lied to yourself?
Yeah, in a lot of ways I did lie to myself. I tried to create an image of myself that wasn't real, so that I looked cooler into society. And I tried to like act like I was this certain person that I really wasn't.
Oh, I know.
So
I don't think I really care anymore. I think the only thing that I'm super excited about, that I like to talk to people about, is Jiu-Jitsu. I don't know why. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like they get tired of listening to it.
for sure.
But it's funny. So there was a new woman that came and started working with us. She's been in the nursing field a long time. She's
I think you
10
told me
years-
this story.
Yeah, she's like 10 years younger than me. And I don't even know how it popped out. She said something, I have no idea. And I'm like, wait a minute. Are you into jiu-jitsu? And she says, oh yeah. And she says, I'm a purple belt. Said, I've been to Pans a couple times. I've been to Worlds. And I got really badly hurt. She did something to her hip. And this was, I don't know how long ago, but she hasn't been able to really get back into it. And I was just amazed that, because I was passionate, about this, pajama party that we involve ourselves in so many times a week, that it really kind of paid off because I was able to connect to another human being in a way that I don't normally get. Now, there's another guy that's an amateur boxer. We talk a lot. And all the guys are always interested in, well, most of them anyway, hey, did you fight yet? Or when's your next tournament? Hey, I want to come down and take a class, and things like that. Those are the moments where I'm really in. Other than the time I have to put a meth head on his ass, that's the most fun I ever have in my life. I'm 4-0 against meth heads, bro.
So like Andy. Andy's always telling me that kind of stuff. But I think the biggest shift that I've seen out of myself and out of the gym in the last year, because I really feel like a year and a half ago, maybe somewhere in there, we were at a really bad place as a gym. Like if I really analyze it, like there's always like classes are good, the training's good.
You mean Terre Haute?
Well, I think Effingham and Terre Haute, like I feel like, and it could have been me. Maybe I was getting to a depressed state in my life. I don't really know. But how do I explain this? Like, I feel like people were complaining more. People were kind of like not looking like they were happy on the mats. And I feel like there wasn't like this, collaboration of getting together and laughing and joking, like kind of like it was getting more divided and more divided. That's why I felt like I had to make a lot of the decisions that I made. But I feel like right now, things have been more healthy than they've ever been before. I feel like there's joy, or I can kind of feel that aura of like people are happy and they're laughing and they're joking and they're a little bit more laid back and the pressure's kind of taken off their shoulders. I felt like for so long we like pushed this agenda to like create world champions and to create like monsters on the mats that we got away from like what the purpose of jiu-jitsu was. And I felt like where now I wasn't playing my role as a coach. It was like I was showing up and I was just saying, okay, get a partner, live roll, get a partner, do this.
Yeah, I remember those.
But I wasn't really like sitting down with the students and talking with them. Or,
right.
Now it's kind of cool because I'm watching different relationships form on the mats because there's new blood coming into the gym and some of these other people that were kind of quiet before, now stepping up, and new friendships are being made. And I think that I'm also falling into my role more as a coach, which is before I had a competitor's mindset and I had a let's build world champions mindset. And now, and I connected to people too closely, I think sometimes. And it sucks because it's such a fine line between getting too close to your students where they hurt you, or because not everyone's going to be in your life forever. I think that's the hardest part. And I think Mandy struggles with this a lot because she comes from a small town, essentially, or she's been in a small little box. And for me, I've been all over the world, and I've seen all types of different, atmospheres. So the thing that I'm trying to say is it's so hard to figure out how close to get to students and how to be involved in their lives and to care about them, but also to not constantly just get your ass kicked and burned, because everyone's got the process. It's not even personal sometimes. Sometimes it's personal, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes people are going to be there for 3 months. Sometimes they're going to be there for a year. Sometimes they're going to be there for 5 years. Sometimes they're going to be there for your whole life. I feel like at this point, Derek's going to probably be there for my whole life unless something major happens. Brandon's probably going to be there for my whole life. I hope you would be there for my whole life. But there's still one of those things that it's nothing guaranteed. So then you and I invest all this time together doing these podcasts, doing these shows, training on the mats, inspiring each other. And even if you move tomorrow, it's not personal. It's not you're moving because you hate me. It's not you're moving because you don't like me. It's not you're moving because you don't like the gym. It's just you got a different opportunity.
There's no place else to go.
But then there's still a piece of me that's going to be gone, because we are connecting and we are. So like for me, it's like I've tried to take a step back from getting so close to people and trying to watch people build friendships and relationships in the gym, because I would love to be. I'd love to go to every UFC get together. I'd like to get to every outing. I'd like to get to
I don't think we do much of that. I think there's a couple guys that do.
I'd like for that to build a little bit more. That's what I'm hoping the new system will do, is get people together more.
Sure.
But I can't be the life of the party, essentially. Once you have families and once you have responsibilities and once you have other obligations outside of It's like, I think it was Dalton that was saying in Terre Haute the other day. He's like, you have so many students that he's like, I couldn't imagine trying to
Connect with each one of them.
connect with each one of them, and then some being louder than others. Not loud in a bad way, but like
Right, I know what
some
you mean.
have more needs than others. Some expect more things than others. Some just come in and do their part and go, and it's like, that's awesome. Like it's everyone has their own place, and there's no wrong or right to it. It just sucks because sometimes the people that are loud and have the most expectations burn you the hardest, and sometimes the people that are just doing their part and showing up genuinely care about you as a human, and like see the reality between what you're going through as a person.
I think I'm lucky in that respect because I'm a relatively new coach. I have so much to learn, not just about the game, but how to relate to guys. Because my classes are a little bit smaller than yours. I mean, lately I've had anywhere from 12 to 14, 15 guys come. That's amazing. It feels amazing. I take moments when I first get there just to kind of take a moment and connect with whoever I could take time to do that with everybody, but I always greet everybody, ask them how their week's been, shake their hand, joke around with them a little bit. And I think that's part of just being not just a good coach, but a good mentor and a good human being.
Where do you think I need to step up as a coach?
I think that's hard. It's like Dalton said, you have a lot of guys.
It's funny because, I think the Michael Karras thing, the split wasn't something that I necessarily wanted, but the mats were getting to a point, the atmosphere was getting to the point where something major had to shift because it wasn't healthy. Even Tommy at one time told me, he's like, Effingham used to be the center spot where everybody came to train.
Right.
And something shifted in there. And for the most part, like, I don't think I've done a whole lot of changing. I mean, trained, blah, blah, blah. Like, the atmosphere on the mats felt unhealthy. And it felt like things were happening. And the way that I'm seeing it is they seem to have a good group. They're close. They like to do things together. And I had that too in the beginning. When I first opened the gym and you got 10, 12, 15, 20 students, it's easy. You can connect with all of them. You can go to movies together. You can go to dinner together. But then it gets to the point where things get so big that if I go to dinner with you or a few of the other guys,
Are you paying?
Huh?
Are you paying?
Well, you know what I'm saying though. Like if I go to your birthday, or if I say happy birthday to you, or if I send your kid a present, you're a student, they're a student. Yeah. Why am I favoring you over them? So then somehow as a coach, as you grow, you have to figure out, and that's why I think sometimes it's like I can't resent or be mad at Heath because I understand at the same time, I can't just look at it from my point of view like, oh, he doesn't care about me. Oh, he doesn't want to connect with me. Oh, he doesn't want to invest in my school, because he's going through the same growing pains that I'm going through, which is eventually the same growing pains that you might go through. You've got 12 or 14 students, but one day you might have 50 or 100 and you might be having a gym in Brazil or something like that we've talked about. And it's not even that you're personally not wanting to show up to my classes anymore or that you personally don't like me. It's that your responsibility level, you can only handle so much.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So like that's why I think it's so crucial that we don't jump to these massive conclusions. I keep telling Mandy this last week, I'm like, do not create a story for me unless we know the truth. It's so easy for us to go down this road of creating stories and situations without knowing the truth.
Right.
And she'll get on me and she'll be like, you need to do something. But I don't think that taking action in the moment when you're creating a story is the right thing to do. The old me might have done that. The old me might have just listened to that story from someone, let it get in my head, and then immediately jumped to creating a conclusion and destroying something that necessarily didn't need to be destroyed. Or maybe it did. But it's so hard to figure out when you're at that level of growth how to balance it and decide what's toxic and not toxic. Or maybe it has nothing to do with it being good or bad. Maybe it just has to do with you've got to figure out how to position yourself as a human being to be the most balanced. Again, kind of what you were saying, so that you can have peace, but also make sure that a majority of the people get to grow and understand what you're there for.
I've kind of come to a belief, well, the reason we started this whole thing wasn't just because you and I realized that this journey in life is not easy. And I think you and I have been through enough in our life that we have a lot to give. And the other part of it was, man, how was, Jiu-Jitsu helped us along the way? How has it strengthened us? And I don't hear this kind of thing about any other martial art.
No.
Ever. People that do Jiu-Jitsu, I think, are 10 times more passionate about it. I don't understand why, and I gave up trying to understand. So let me ask you this. Do you know why I brought up earlier about how I wanted to do a podcast or an episode that's just about you? Sometimes I feel like you come across, and I don't think you are. I think you come across a little closed off.
Yeah.
Until you are able to either get to know somebody or a door opens, and it makes it easier for us to, flay ourselves open a little bit and be a little bit more direct, a little bit more open, a little bit more transparent. And I think I'm better at that than you.
Yeah.
Hey, I love you, man.
But it goes back to what you said, or what I said. Your student count is low.
Correct. I do recognize that.
And it's not low, like it's high. I'm not hating on it. It's awesome. 14 people on a Monday is awesome. But it's one class. It's 12 to 14 people.
I recognize
where me, it's 16 classes a week, and it's 200 people a week.
That's pressure.
And to me, it gets to the point where it's almost confusing. So again, it's kind of like that. How do you, right now they have their little group and their group's cool and they hang out and they do their thing. But like once they get to 50 or 100, they're not going to be able to go to every tournament.
Right.
They're not going to be able to have to go to every outing. They're not going to be able to go. So eventually you're going to have to make one of two things: have no life, have no family, have nothing, live in the gym, obsess in the gym, follow your students everywhere, which is kind of what Heath did. And that gave him the success that he got, which is awesome. That formula that he did, it worked, and it's beautiful, and it's cool how he branded himself. I have to appreciate that, because in the beginning, I could feel it, but now that it's all that I can step back and look at it, it's cool to see the brand that he created. Does it hurt sometimes that I feel like I'm not in the brand, essentially? Absolutely. But again, you have to analyze it. Like, is it my fault or is it his fault, or is it both of our faults? And you can't necessarily take it personal. And then you have to look at it from the point of view is, I helped his brand. Should I be upset if he never helps my brand? Or do I even deserve to have a brand? Or what is my brand? Right. Like all these things are things that we struggle with. And if we don't take the time to analyze them and analyze where we're at or what we should be working at or looking at or being even present in the moment. Are we present in the moment more than just worrying about what we're trying to brand or create?
Right.
Because I think if we're present in the moment and we're actually creating a message and actually trying to help people, then you're not looking at what your brand is. Your brand will just create itself.
Right.
So.
And I think that's why I think I know you do lots of videos and things like that about, well, anybody that watches your videos knows, but I think there's a, what am I trying to say? A part of you that a lot of people don't know a lot about. And that's who you are as a father, how you feel about your students, something a little bit more personal. And because you have so many students, and so I think it'll reach more. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm not saying any of that. I think you're amazing. You're by far my most favorite coach I've ever had. I've had 4 of them, so, you didn't have to work too hard. And that's why I came up with the idea. Who was Chad Hawkins,
I think my biggest problem is I'm closed off for 2 reasons.
Well, I know one of them.
What is it?
because students come and go so fast.
Kind of, yeah. Because I remember, like, in the beginning, I was so close to my students. Like, I remember hanging out with them all the time. You know, like, I remember us going to movies together, going to get food together, going on trips together, staying in hotels together. You know, I remember having Tristan all the time and helping him because his mom wasn't around, and, you know, having to go get him from places, or just being connected with so much. And then it was like, this person left, that person left, this person left, that
Sure.
person left. And again, it had nothing to do with, essentially, maybe it had to do with me, maybe it had to do with them, maybe it had to do with them moving, whatever the case is. So, like, part of you doesn't want to keep giving out to people until you kind
Sure.
of feel like they're going to stay around.
Yep.
And maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong, but it's like, I don't even start to put attention to anyone until like 2 or 3 months of them dedicating themselves to the gym.
Sure. Even more than that, I think.
I mean, maybe, but I feel like I've been trying to open up more again now that I'm starting to feel more enjoyment on the mats. I felt like there for a while I really closed off, and I was just kind of like, you call me a robot all the time. And
I
it was
just do
just
that
like,
for fun.
show up, do what I need to do, go home. Because I was like, dude, I'm losing everyone. Whether I'm losing everyone
That's
because it's
not why
me,
I
whether
call
it's
you that.
I
Just
know,
for the
but
record.
you know, it's like,
But-
I'm losing these groups of students for whatever the reason is, and I just need to do my job and go home. You know, because connecting with them, it's in the long run, it's not going to matter anyways. No matter how much I work to try to, I mean, if we're being realistic, I put Ronnie in the spot where he's in. You know, Ronnie wanted to be an MMA coach. He wanted to just teach, and he didn't want to be a competitor. And he wanted to enjoy that part of jiu-jitsu. And I created that world for him. You know, I mean, Michael wanted Sun Yun to be a champion, and we made that happen. You know, Tristan wanted to be an MMA star. We made that happen. So there's a lot of these people in my life that we've made things work that they've wanted them to work. And at the end of it, it's like, I'm the bad guy, you know, because I want my gym to be healthy. I'm the bad guy because I want the mats to be healthy, and I want people to come together and to work as a team and to have fun and to push each other and to get better.
Do you know why I feel like we have people that are in our lives that are like that? It's because they are addicted to toxic environments and chaos.
I think it goes back to a little bit of they don't actually want to face what's going on from their growth in their life.
Right.
Or you know, it's a lot of what the crazy part is, how many parents are hiding behind their kids today instead of living their own life, instead of actually taking accountability in their own life and holding and saying, look, I'm this and this, right? I'm a narcissist, I'm overweight, I'm insecure, I'm whatever the case is. They hide behind their children and they live through their children. And it's sad because it's like, that's not the example, because then your child's going to repeat that same thing. You know, like, I want to live my life and become a better person and figure out how to die and be reborn every day, so that that's the example my daughter gets, instead of living through my daughter. Oh, she's into volleyball. Look, let me create this for her and make her look so cool. No, she can do that shit herself.
Right.
She's her own human being. She can create her own shit if that's what she's passionate about, you know? So that leads me to the second thing, right? Which is, I'm super insecure with myself as a human. And a lot of people wouldn't realize that. I mean, like Mandy still says, she's like, people think that you're so confident and arrogant, you know, like it intimidates them. And to me, I don't see that at all. I'm just a person that doesn't want to be fucked with now. And I'm just a person that wants to enjoy my life and stay out of drama and enjoy being in the moment with whatever's going on, whether that's with my daughter, whether that's with Mandy, whether that's with you, whether that's...
Sure.
I just don't want stupid shit in you. I have enough stupid shit. Like you said, the bills need paid. The house leaks when it rains. All the stupid crap. I got to figure out how to coach 40 students this next weekend. You know, like, all that crap and all that noise, I don't need the extra little shit that doesn't matter. So the insecurity part of me is the hardest thing that I battle with, is like believing in myself and realizing that it's not that I think I'm better than anyone. It's not that I think that I'm some great human being. It's just that I don't believe in myself because from being a child, no one ever really allowed me to have that confidence to actually believe in myself. It was pounded in my head from a childhood that you're not better than anyone, which I agree, I'm not. But like, you don't realize that whatever you pound in your kid's head, in your mind as a parent, you understand what you're saying, but they have no fucking clue.
God, I know.
And Mandy would tell me that so much with Lucy, that she's like, she doesn't understand. And then sometimes I hear her try to repeat things that I tried to get across to her, and I'm like, it's
like,
completely
is that
different.
French? What are you speaking, child?
It's like, I know what she's trying to say, but she took it differently, and that's crazy to me. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because it's like, you really need to start analyzing the message you're delivering.
Yeah.
And we don't. We exist in the moment, and we continue to be the same human beings and continue to show up in the same way, and then we wonder why shit falls apart, or we wonder why we're having these issues.
I kind of wonder, part of, how do I say this? Jude's a wild card. He's very sporadic. He's unabashed. He comes across like he has all this confidence, that he's the shit. And in a way, he is.
He reminds me a lot of me at his age. I mean, he makes much
To
more
some
critical
degree.
choices than I made.
I agree.
I was scared to do, it's just the environments. That's all it is. I grew up as a nerd playing video games, so I never got into the hanging out with the wrong people or being influenced. Like, mine was like, play video games, go to work, and be a car salesman, and then eventually I started drinking. But I didn't. I think some of the most dangerous things for kids is going to parties and houses. At least when I went to drink, it would go to a bar, and then you would go home. And there's not a lot of influence that can happen there. But man, house parties are super dangerous, and kids don't realize that, and they want that connection or that feeling of feeling like they feel part of something. Yeah, so Jude definitely. But I think as far as the same mindset and insecurities within us, there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
More similarities than he realizes. And it's funny because I think people think that's like Austin or Jude or some of these kids. They think that I don't like them, or that I'm not for them, or I'm not. And it's like, it has nothing to do with that. I just see the human that they are. They can't see the human they are yet.
Exactly. That's beautiful. That's perfect.
So,
we can see the human that they are and the mistakes they made, but they can't.
Yeah.
And if they do, it is such a glimpse. And I think that if younger men would just get a glimpse of the power that they possess inside them, to find tools, to learn how to use them, I think life would be so much easier for so many people. I
think it's 30 to 35. I think it's the average. I don't know about for women, but I think for men, it's like 30 or 35 before you start to make the shift and realize, like, I got to get my shit together, or
I was 53.
Right. I mean, I was 38. But, like, I really think that it's so tough in your 20s. But it sucks because if I would have, at 30, did what I did at 20, I would have 10 times the success that I have right now. Instead of having a 200 to 300 person gym, I might have a 500 to 1,000 person gym.
But you can't. Here's the thing. I got away from, and I know you're not really saying what if, but we didn't.
Right.
We're not that person.
No, we're this moment.
Very few 20-year-olds have that sort of insight.
But the ones that do, that can figure that out, they're millionaires when they're in their 30s and 40s. That's what I try to tell, I think, Timber, or tell Lucy. It's like, man, maybe Waylon, this is what maybe he took in from me, essentially. But it's like, when you get started and focused at a younger age, but then it sucks because there's always going to be the double-edged sword, or whatever you want to say, right? You get more wealth, maybe, but then you're not working on your family, you're not working on your body, you're not working on, your spirit, whatever it is, right? So then, okay, at 30 you have wealth, but then everything else is falling apart in your life because you don't have the knowledge to do it all. Like Garrett says, right? If you're not doing it all, you're going to fall apart eventually.
Yep.
If you're not working on the 4 crucial areas of your life and only working on one, it's all going to fall apart. So, and like I sent Waylon a text message like 2 weeks ago, just because I wonder, him and I were best friends. He started jiu-jitsu around 8 years old, and him and I were super close. We played all the video games together. We did everything together. And I kind of just wonder sometimes, like when Lucy came along, internally inside of him, does he feel like I abandoned him? That was a thought that I was having a few weeks ago. And it's a genuine thought. Like I never sat down and truly thought about when Lucy came in. Because Mandy and I joked about, hey, Lucy, do you want a sister? And she's like, yeah, I want a sister. And I'm like, but what about when I give her attention? Well, no. She's like, I want to be the center of attention. And then it's like, did Waylon feel that way? And then I could see where kids begin to go down a bad path because you don't even realize that you're creating these things. I wonder if my brother feels abandoned by my father, and then it's like we judge him for going down the path that he went down and creating the decisions that he went down, and we blame everybody else. We blame, my mom, or we blame whoever the other parent is.
Yeah.
But we don't look at it from the point of view of maybe if you showed up as a man the way that you should have, just like Garrett said, like you eventually have to own your truth. If you would have become a better man and showed up for your significant other better and put more effort into your family instead of to your job and your money, and then equally showed up for both children or whatever, how many children you have, what would the direction have been then compared to a divorce, a separation, and then spending years basically saying that this is the problem, when in reality it's I wasn't giving the guidance and I abandoned that human being.
Right.
Did I abandon Waylon at a crucial age in his life? So how old was he? Like 13?
That is tough.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and Mandy struggles with this a lot too with her oldest, because when she went through the divorce, he was like 12 or 13 or something like that. And that's a critical age for a child. And then instead of us being able to like dive into these truths and actually go down these roads and like peel back these Band-Aids and explore and get to a healthier place, we just keep throwing Band-Aids on them and ignore them, and we smile and we go on. And that's what Garrett calls lying. Lying isn't really lying, like, oh, I think your shirt looks this way, and then it's
Talking about my porn star shirt.
But you know what I'm saying? Like a lie
Yeah.
isn't necessarily a lie. Sometimes a lie is that we just don't want to face the actual truth.
Yeah.
And it's tough because it does suck. If he really truly feels like I abandoned him and he feels like Lucy came along and I stopped spending time with him, and I never thought that for 5-6 years or whatever it is until now, and he had to live with that for 5 or 6 years. And then you start thinking about that with yourself, with your kids, it really makes you look at things differently. And I don't know whether you can change it or not. I mean, I guess I could try to change it, but it's tough.
You can always change people. We need to wrap this up, dude. We've been going and going and going again.
It's a long one.
How long have we been on?
I think it says 80 minutes.
Oh my God. It's so fun to do. So, final thought here.
Okay.
I think that even though we didn't necessarily stay completely on subject,
Never do.
I know we don't, but the good thing about everything we talked about today was, as usual, we talk about how trying to be a better man.
Yeah.
And I think taking your time, think about things before you act, and knowing in your heart that, you know what, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It will be. Cry it out. Get to the gym, choke somebody out, go out, take your girlfriend out, your wife. Get your mind off things every now and again. You can't stay focused on the problem all the time. You have to give your mind and your body a break. And I think that that's where Jiu-Jitsu comes in. I think that Jiu-Jitsu is absolutely, there's nothing static about it.
Yeah.
I think you're constantly using your mind, you're using your body, constantly. There's none of this, bouncing up and down, trying to figure out how you're going to, kick somebody. But with jiu-jitsu, man, it's constant motion.
Yeah.
You don't have time to think about what's waiting for you back at home.
It's constantly trying to mold a puzzle together.
Yeah, I know. So it gives you that opportunity to clear your head, see things for what
That's why I
they
said in the
really
video
are.
that I made today, It's
Right.
like, when I'm on the mats, it gives me that one time where I can disconnect from everything. I'm not worrying about all the other stuff, the other noise.
Absolutely, got to get rid of that noise. That way, it gives you an opportunity to make a better decision and see things for what they really are. A little sweat goes a long way.
Yeah.
So, great podcast. As usual, I really enjoyed this. I'm sorry it took us so long to get back together and do it, but I think we've kind of developed some days in our heads where, we can get together and continue this. It's very important to me, and I want to affect younger men and even guys that are my age, that are totally fucked up in their life, whatever it is. We want to be that help for them. We want to be, we want to be leaders, but we also want to open ourselves up every day to learn.
I think the big thing as a leader is that I have to be more vulnerable and be okay with that.
Absolutely.
I think that struggles. I think the best men, the most successful men, not wealth-wise, but like spiritual-wise, body-wise, peace-wise, balance-wise, whatever you want to call it, is the ones that are willing to be vulnerable and be honest with their shit.
Yeah.
Because I think so many people lie and they just want to create this image instead of actually just have genuinely like real connection.
Right. Thank you guys for watching today. Amazing. Chad the Robot Hawkins. I'm Graham the Invincible Moore.
Goodbye.
See you later, guys. See you next time.